Having a welder on a property is an absolute necessity. Otherwise, every time something breaks or you've got to adapt something for a new job, you're going to be paying through the nose for someone else to do it. I'm sure many of you, like me, have got your old trusty faithful stick welder. This one's a little bit worse for wear. I think there's broken bits of plastic falling out of it right now. It's stuck up with some tape and the earth is, let's just say, not great. The boys at Weldclass saw this in some of my videos and they particularly admired my up-to-the-minute safety equipment, and they've suggested to me that maybe I can do a little bit better. So meet my new weapon. This little beauty still runs on 10 amp, which is important because I can run it off my generator, but it'll do stick, MIG, gassless MIG and TIG, and I've got some sexy new safety wear. So this week's video is about getting it running. We're then going to take it over to Steve Casamento and I'm going to get some tips from him. I'm Tim Thompson. If you like this sort of video, please hit the little subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and there's plenty more content like this and more on timthompson.ag. So let's get to know our welder. The back end's pretty simple. We've got a gas inlet down the bottom here. We've got our power cord and then we've got our power switch. With the business side of the welder, we've got a lovely little tray that comes down, loading instructions and polarity instructions for setting up the welder for various situations. A full kit of gear that comes with the welder ready to set up and assemble on site. Once you've got the side cover opened and the gear removed, setting up your spool is fairly easy. You just have to attach the spool to the back of the casing using the two self-tappers that are provided. I've got to actually apply a fair bit of force to those self-tappers for them to seat, and it just felt like I was doing the wrong thing, but solid as a rock now. Then you take your spool cap off and you change its orientation depending on whether you're using 1 kilo or 5 kilos of wire. I've got a 4.5 kilo roll here, so I've got it in the outer orientation, and I've got the cap done up thoroughly to stop any spooling. I may have to undo that as we go along. Then you simply take apart the drive mechanism to insert your wire. Make sure when you set this up for the first time that you have your drive spool in the correct orientation. And this is one of the biggest problems people have when they try and use gassless wire, is that they don't use the right drive, so make sure you got it engaged. Once it's engaged, lock down your drive belt and put a little bit of tension on there, but your wire should come out quite easily. The less tension you use, the better the job your welder's going to do, and you're not going to have any feed issues. If you start having feed issues when you first set up your welder, come back into the guts of it and just let this off a little bit. It should really just be sitting there. Now comes the fun bit. We get to connect our torch, stick the wire through the wire feeder. You'll see that there's two little washers on the gas tube that fits straight in and screws up. Now I'm trying not to stuff this up. Get your earth end, get the bare end of your earth through the little clamp there and tighten down on your nuts. Nothing better than some good tighten nuts on your earth. But seriously, that's one of the biggest problems with earths, is that people don't tighten their nuts up properly. Good tight nuts. Now, I've already mentioned to you that I'm using flux core wire because I'm going gassless MIG. I think it's the best option for outdoors. And as a result, I'm going to run what we call reverse polarity. I'm actually going to stick my return loop, or my earth, into the positive terminal. And the reason for that is that we want to run our gun, or our torch, off the negative, and that's going to stop the spatter and all of the other problems that are commonly associated with gassless MIG welding. Next up, we're going to take the tip off with our good quality welding pliers. And now when I hook her up, I'll be able to squeeze the trigger and pull the wire through. Now we come time to put the tip back on. I'm actually changing over to a 1mm tip instead of the 0.8 that comes with the machine, because gassless wire expands as it burns because of the flux in the middle. So I'm going with a 1mm tip, which is what's recommended by Weldclass. So we're going to put that tip on to the wire like so, and nip her up with the welding pliers. Put this back on, turn it back on, make sure it's feeding properly, and I'm going to cut this about 1 to 2 inches outside. Beautiful, we're ready to go. Now the purpose of today's video was not to be a welding instructor. What today was about was seeing how a rank amateur can set this machine up in a matter of a couple of minutes and get welding. And now we're going to go and see Steve and get some pro tips from him just to get the setup a little bit better. But in the meantime, I've got some 1mm steel. I just have to try this welder out. I can't wait for Steve, I'm sorry. So all I'm going to do to set my welder up today is just refer to the chart that's down here. It tells me for gassless welding, I need an inductance of C, and I need to set my power on 3. So we should have a reasonable chance at getting a successful bead down the first time you use it. Just use this chart, and there's lots of troubleshooting guides in here as well. Now this is honestly the first time I'm going to be using this, so wish me luck. First time out of the box, that's not bad. I did get a bead down. I think I'm going to turn my inductance up just a little bit more. It was sounding a bit too much like a machine gun for me. Let's go and see Steve and get some pro tips on how to use our gassless out in the field successfully on your farm. Hey Steve,
Yeah, mate, how are you? Good.
Guess what?
What?
I've got a welder.
Right.
As a rank amateur, I'm pretty damned impressed with it after just playing with it a little bit. I actually read 3 pages of the instruction manual this time.
Here's the first. You can throw it over your shoulder.
No, well, I did, and then I started setting it up and I thought, no, I better do it right. So 3 pages, mate, is what it took. I'd love to get you to check it out, because I know that people can set these things up wrong and have all sorts of ongoing problems, and I want to make sure that that's not the case with me. I've had a few goes, and it seems to lay down a bead pretty easy, but I'd like you to check it out and just make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Right, we'll plug it in and we'll find out.
All right, sounds good, mate. Let's play. Back on the bench.
Okay, so this is what they've termed a synergic machine.
Yep. What's that?
There are several levels of synergic machines, or synergy, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But in this class, it's pretty basic. However, for this class of machine, it's perfect. It's what you want. It's nice and easy for the beginner to use. So the idea being that instead of having to know wire speed and voltage and amperage and all that sort of thing, which a trained welder knows and would set up against those parameters, you can just pick with the chart a thickness of material and the type of weld bead you want to run, and it should know where to set it up, and it should be a good starting point. You then might want to adjust it a little bit, but it should be pretty close.
Yeah, righto.
So this chart you want to look after. In fact, a tip, take a photo of this chart, because after a while they wear out.
Yeah, okay.
And you lose them.
Good point.
So I'm just going to do a little bit of weld prep on these, because that's as important as welding. We'll try 3 different scenarios where we've got a weld like this, where we've got a corner weld, where we're welding the fillet down there, a fillet weld across the top, and we'll do a butt weld as well. And that'll cover the 3 most scenarios that you'd use on a farm. Okay, so that's joining 2 pieces together that way, and that one all that way. Okay, so the first thing, when we butt weld, we need to put a V in here, some weld prep.
So when we're talking about a V, we're talking about the material not finishing as a blunt end, but coming in at about 45 degrees.
Yeah, you've got to have somewhere for the material to go and to penetrate, so we penetrate through.
Okay.
Now, yeah, there is a science to it, but for a farmer, good enough would be good enough.
So Steve, lesson number one for me, I never do that extensive a weld prep, so if I want to improve my welding, I should probably get a lot
prep,
neater and spend more time on my prep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they say you can weld this paint.
Yep.
It's good practice to take it off anyway.
Yep.
If you're doing a butt weld, you need to give yourself a V somewhere for the weld to penetrate into.
All right, now as good as these first aid kits are, and I always carry one, first aid kits aren't PPE, are they?
Nope, they're the last line. You've got a helmet?
Yeah, this is a pretty flash one. A huge step up from what I've used before.
You've got some gloves?
Yep.
They're good?
Yep.
You haven't got a jacket?
No.
And you've got,
I've got a
this
shirt.
section of your V, and I can show you what happens if you like.
Yeah.
When you're welding a shirt all the time, you'll get sunburn there, and it's a lot worse than being on the beach all day.
So instant repairs, probably just do your shirt up.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be welding for a few hours straight, probably invest in a jacket.
Invest in a jacket, yeah.
Yeah. All right, now Steve, the other thing before we start, I used this helmet the other day,
Yeah.
and I was really happy to be able to see what I was doing for the first time in my welding career, but I did get a bit of a headache towards the end of my practice welds. And there's some buttons and dials in there. Can you talk us through that?
The settings were a bit light for my liking, and this is personal taste and a bit of safety. So the shade for MIG welding, some people have it lighter. I like it between 11 and closer to 12, okay, which is a bit darker, so you can't see as well, but it's better. And the sensitivity, you want it to go on straight away, so you put the sensitivity up high. The only time I turn that down is if you've got a window with bright sunlight coming through, or in particular forklifts with their flashing beacon, and that means you how much going on and off all the time, so then you can back it off a little bit. The delay, I would have no delay at all there. I want it on. When it sparks up, I want it on. I don't want to see any bright lights. And make sure you actually turn it on. So yeah, that's on grind at the moment, and turn it to weld.
You've got a rule for setting up your welds?
Yeah, now this is gassless MIG. I'm used to welding with gas.
Yep.
So I would normally push my weld in.
Yep.
Gassless, you have to lay it down.
So you've got to drag.
Yeah, drag it. With gas, you don't get any slag or flux building up on top of the weld. With gassless, you do similar to you would with an arc welder or a stick welder.
Yep.
And if you push it, you'll get slag inclusion. In fact, you can see on the first one here, I've just run that wire out as a pointer. Just run this wire out as a pointer. On the first one here, I pushed it, and there's a bit of slag inclusion when I finished the weld.
So this shows the difference. This is the same welder, same piece of steel, and pretty much the same size, but when you pushed, you had slag inclusion.
So I started here,
one.
and I pushed it across here.
Yep.
And there's some slag inclusion in there, it was hard to get off.
Yep.
This one here, I dragged it. I probably went a bit quick at the end there, but I was just having a play.
Now, setting up your torch to start a weld, can you talk us through that? What's the best way?
Okay,
You've got a 20-20 rule?
Yeah, my starting point, and it does change depending on what you're doing, is 20 mil off the weld, 20 mil back, 20 degrees back that way, and 20 degrees back that way. 20 up, 20 back that way, and I'm going to drag.
Now, Steve, just before you go and dip your nozzle, can you talk us through what that means?
Okay, so it's just to stop spatter and stuff building up on the torch end, then clogging up the wire. So it's just do it once when it's hot, and that'll keep it clean. If you haven't got nozzle dip, you can use anti-spatter. I keep anti-spatter in an old washing bottle, and you can just, when it sprays, you can just spray the end as well. That will do the same thing.
So there's more preparation yet. You've prepared the weld. Now that you've tacked it, you've got to get rid of the flux so that you're prepared for your drags.
And this flux comes off quite easily, which is good.
Okay. So it's pretty good wire.
Yeah. So this would be a pretty common weld that you do on a farm where you're putting two bits of RHS together. We've tacked it together. We've got a bit of a gap on the back side, which we'll weld first. That gap will fill up okay. We're going to drag from this corner back to here. And then before we go do the next weld, we've got to chip that flux off again, especially at the ends, because we want those ends to join up as well. And we don't want to have welding over the top of flux.
So Steve, if you've got a big gap, lower the setting on your welder.
Yeah,
Don't raise it. I would have done the opposite.
Yeah, you'll lower it a little bit, clean the slag out. You might have to do 2 passes.
Yeah, okay. Now you were saying something before as well. You are setting yourself up and you're testing your run before you make it,
okay.
so that you're comfortable.
Yeah, so you want to be comfortable. So if it was like this and I'm all bent out of shape trying to weld it this way, well, I'm not going to do a good weld. So I want to be comfortable. Try and move your... A lot of times you can't, but try and move your part so that you're in a comfortable position. I'm right-handed, so it's easy for me to drag to come back that way. I've got my elbow on the bench. I'm going to be nice and steady, and I can hold my distances at angles correctly.
And with your finger off the trigger, test your drag each time.
Exactly, yeah.
Make sure you're comfy and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and I do it every single weld.
Well, Steve, thanks a heap for the tips, mate.
Yep.
Really golden. It's good to know that the machine was kind of set up right to begin with, which is good. So the instruction manual, those 3 pages paid off.
Just follow that chart, you'll be fine.
The helmet's set up now, so I'm not getting a headache, which is good. So that's an important set of tips there for OH&S. So do you mind now, mate, if I have a little bit of a play with a few scraps of steel?
All good. I'll go like the Barbie.
Sounds good, mate.
Done. See ya. You could see I was bouncing a little bit.
Now I was going bop, 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 bop,
Could do with a
bop,
little
bop.
bit more tension on that.
Well, mate, thanks very much. The biggest problem that you've identified in my welding today is that I've been too far away from the job, thinking I've had to be further away. So you've brought me in closer. You reckon 20 mil for most jobs?
For most jobs, it's a good start. Sometimes I come in closer to 15, but 20s.
What I thought was settings problem with the machine was actually just my technique. It was just being too far away. So when it was going bang, 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 yes, the line speed might be too fast, but maybe you're too far away from the weld.
In your case, you were too far away from the weld.
Yeah. So trust your settings, doubt yourself.
The machine settings on this chart are working really well, so they've done a great job.
Yeah, all right. So it's all about my technique.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to building lots and lots of stuff with this now. Guys, if you like this kind of video, please don't forget, hit the subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up. And there's plenty more content on timthompson.ag, but right now, there's a barbecue to eat.
There is.
Let's go.